Welcome to What Are You Even Talking About? The podcast where we talk a little bit about everything. I am your host, the Nomothete. Welcome to the show. Talking about the podcast. Welcome to What Are You Even Talking About? A podcast where we talk a little bit about everything. Today's guest is Reese Sabitini-Blake. She is an Indigenous medicine woman with a background in high-risk social work. She combines her training and experience to help women work through pharmaceutical-free trauma recovery through the Bliss method. Welcome. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
So the first question we have is every guest that comes on the show, we ask them to ask a question for the guest after them without knowing who they are. And the question was, how do we bring more creativity back into humanity and society?
I would have to say connecting to the artistic side of ourselves. Whether you want to be logical about that and stay in being more creative with your cooking, or whether you are a more free-spirited person and you want to pursue like artistic or musical endeavors, like we honestly do need to bring all of those practices back into our lives.
Agree. I agree. Okay. So my next question is, tell us a little bit about your journey and what you do.
Well, my journey started a long time ago. I mean, I was a kid that always wanted to be in both healthcare and mental health. So I kind of get to do the best of both worlds now after I myself had recovered from paralysis where I was never supposed to walk again.
Oh,
And
wow.
here I am today helping other women and also men, but more women overcome their own psychological traumas and getting back to their bliss.
Wow. That's amazing. Um, what, how were you paralyzed? Like, what happened?
There were either too little or too much blood thinners in my system during a brain surgery to reduce seizures, and the top of my brainstem spasmed, essentially causing a stroke when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow. That must have been tough to go through.
Oh, it was.
I can just imagine, like, I've never been through anything nearly like that. So I can just imagine that that was difficult to deal with. And it probably was very, you had a lot of doubts when you went through that and a lot of pain is, I can only imagine how severe that was. Um, so you say you deal with indigenous medicine, and what are the pros to indigenous medicine over pharmaceuticals?
Well, from there, it's all of your natural remedies and really like focusing on preventative practices for all areas of your health, from the mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional.
Wow, um, that sounds like it would help far more than most pharmaceuticals do these days, with as many side effects as you have from pharmaceuticals. Like, half the stuff you take gives you more problems than you had in the beginning. And it's just like you take something and you want to get better, but it gives you five more problems or the risk of death, even. Like,
Exactly.
it's,
Like, and
it's,
it's
go
really
ahead,
just
go ahead.
bringing it back to the roots of like where these things originated instead of being stuck with a pharmaceutical that is going to give you more side effects, like guaranteed, whether you can happily live with said side effect or whether you need five more medications for those side effects.
Yeah. Like, I know with medicines I take because I was diagnosed schizoaffective. A lot of the side effects are like weight gain, sometimes death. Like it can give you heart problems. Like there's so many things I wish I could take instead of the medicines I take to help facilitate the problems I have.
Mhm.
And it feels like there's no other remedies. And I just started taking ashwagandha
Mm.
and a medicine, and then I have a DH3 medicine I take, just to get the natural system or stuff in me, and it seems to help a lot more than the other medicines I was taking. And it's
Right?
like I don't go ahead.
And that's what we're really finding is there's this current shift in the paradigm, if you will, where people are starting to lean more back into herbals. And we're finding, oh wait, this makes me feel better, and I don't have to deal with everything else. Like, yes, medication is great if you need it, or if you're happy taking it, but we are starting to shift into even like a social culture where it's more acceptable to look for the alternatives.
And it's funny that, these medicines were always there. Like we didn't have to look far for them. They come from the ground, like they come from the earth. And why take something that was man-made if you can take something that was made from the planet and help you the same way the medicine did? It was like the they did what they could at the time, and they felt like a lot of these medicines were helping, and come to find out more so that more often than not that they don't help as much as we think. And it's just, I don't know, like a lot of medications out there are just not good, and we take them, like we ingest them, and we ingest so much stuff in our bodies that we don't need to take in. It's just, we can look in the earth and it's there. It's like everything we need is made from the earth. So we don't really need as many of the pharmaceuticals as we need them, but they did do the best they could, and they were trying to help for some of it. Some people are just out to get money, but they did the best they could. And I feel it's time to go back to herbal medicines and using the earth for the purpose of that it's made for. It's made for all the animals on this planet, and it's going to provide everything that we need for the for us.
I have to agree. They, we existed on this earth like as humans for thousands of years before supposedly modern medicine was here. And oh wait, we were fine. The only thing Western medicine has done is prevent accidental death.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And sometimes that it doesn't even help that. Like sadly, a lot of medications now, the side effect is death. And it's like that's your only choice. I can either take this or die, or take this and die. And it's like I don't know if I want to take my chances with that if that's the only thing y'all can provide me.
Right? Like if your chances are death and death and death, well, death.
Yeah, like you have no other option. And it's like, why put that in a medication if you know it can kill you? And a
Yeah.
lot of it I've noticed deals with, it might help with one thing, but the cost isn't that great. Like you shouldn't have to choose death if there's an alternative option that I can take that comes from the earth and it doesn't kill me. Like there's so many different combinations you can put together with medicines and create. Yes, it might help with this because one small part of the medicine helps with that, but all the other things we have to add to it are just nonsense. And it's, they don't really try to help cure people. They want you to be on medications. They want you to keep taking these medications every day because there's really no money in curing people. If you can give somebody something that they can take once and it fixes them, well, there's one customer that's not going to come back. And, they'd rather have the customer come back than treat the illness, whatever it is. And it's a shame that we live in a time where that's the case.
I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think we should be profiting off anything. I mean, if you look at humans versus every other thing on the earth, we're the only ones that pay to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else gets a free ride.
Yeah. You're definitely right. I know in my own life, it's been difficult with a lot of trauma. I've had a lot of trauma in my life, and it really took my mindset in a place where I didn't feel comfortable being on this planet anymore. And I could try to commit suicide often, and something just wouldn't let me die. And I was just like, the trauma built up so much in me that I couldn't stand it.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people go through that, for a plethora of reasons. Like they just feel like they shouldn't be here anymore. So, my next question is, what are some of the most pressing difficulties when it comes to trauma recovery?
Honestly, I would say it has to do with the lack of ability to take the time you need to heal due to financial reasons. And secondly, we don't focus on the re-regulation of a person's nervous system. Like, if you can't get a person back to calm or center, they can't talk about any of that stuff. They can't begin to rewire neural pathways. If a person is still stuck in it, there's no moving forward.
I agree. I definitely agree because I know for me, it wasn't until my mindset changed that I was able to heal and move forward. Like my mindset for the longest time was I'm worthless. I can't do anything. I'll never get the things I want. And it took going through a catalyst of pain
Mhm.
that finally changed my mindset about things. Like it wasn't until then, like I was like, I'm gonna learn how to draw. And I'd always wanted to learn how to draw, but my whole life I told myself I couldn't. And I decided to go to the store, buy a bunch of, things to help me draw. And I started drawing and I learned over the next 4 years. I drew every day for 4 years. And until I could see the picture I wanted to see. But it took my mindset changing on the fact that I can draw. It's just I'm telling myself I can't. And that's, I think, is one of the biggest things that we deal with as people, is we tell ourselves every day that we can't do, a lot of things.
Mhm.
And because we tell ourselves we can't do these things, we don't. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not until we can tell ourselves, yes, I can, I can do this. I can make it further. I can get the things I want. And you have to put your mind in a place to get those things. It takes the effort you put behind it to make those things possible. And they definitely are possible if we open our minds to it.
Yeah, mindset and dedication are two of the biggest factors in getting to the other side of recovery.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, in today's day, like we're all looking for the one happy pill, like the fix all, the 39.99 solution.
It would be good if we could find one, but I don't think that's possible in the way we look at it. Like, everybody, I mean, we come from generations where, you give them a pill, that'll fix them. And we've gotten away from, there are teas that are relaxing, and there are many plants that help give a soothing effect to the body. And there are medicines out there that can open the mind to greater things, and we're just not using them. And, there's studies being done every day that shows these medicines help with all of these things. And because we're so trained to think, doctors are always right, and like the way they do things is always right, that we don't even give indigenous medicine a chance. Is we
Exactly.
just don't. And it makes no sense that we would rather take a man-made pill that helps in the slightest than a medicine that's made by the earth that can help with a whole range of things instead of just one. And then, like we said, the side effect can be terrible. And we have to get our minds back to the earth provides.
Exactly. And not even going as far as like a herbal pill, but actually looking at our diets, being like, well, if this one thing comes from like these fruits and vegetables, why don't I just reincorporate those into my diet?
Yes.
Like we can do this really naturally without having to spend $150 at a health store every month.
Yeah. Like, and medicine prices are ridiculous nowadays. Like when you're paying 400, $500 per pill on a medicine, who can afford that? Like nobody can really afford the medicines that they give us. And each year it seems like the price gets higher.
Oh yeah.
Like, and so I mean, I know some people that take pills that are $1,000 a pill, and it's like, how can you afford that? Like, I can't. So once again, they give them the choice to die instead of being able to have a medicine that actually helps. And it's sad. It's really sad nowadays that that is the case when we have the medicines we need coming from the planet. I can't stress that enough. Like these things come from the planet and they help.
Yeah.
And it's people just don't understand it nowadays because we're not taught that anymore. Like it used to be very common to teach about medicinal herbs, and that's just not where we live now. Like it's we just don't live in that type of world anymore, and we should. And I'm glad that it's getting more like the old ways nowadays, and people can see that there's far more help out there than just pharmaceuticals. And like I know I have to take medicines for what I have, but I can also facilitate my diet. I
Mhm.
can, facilitate the herbal supplements that I use, and I can add things to that. And certain fruits and vegetables help with so much that I never even thought possible. Like I know just looking into different fruits and vegetables, like they just have some of them have a higher content of certain things that can help establish a better body. And we don't think about that on most days because our minds are so rushed and always thinking about the next thing we have to do that we don't take the time to have a well balanced breakfast. And they started teaching about that the food pyramid is wrong. And like how, and this is something they've been using for years, just to come to find out that it's wrong. Like, and they made it to facilitate which foods they wanted to sell more of, and not so much on what the body actually needs. And I find that mind boggling. Like you had the chance to build a food pyramid that was based on actual health, and they did. They chose what they could sell the most of.
Exactly. And that's the most broken part because also if we were all healthy and happy human beings at our own core, do you know how much more productive and helpful we would be in society?
Yes, yes. And we could take more jobs that we loved and create more. Like it goes back to the first question I asked, like about creativity,
Yeah.
is that it helps build creativity in us when we're happy, when we're healthy, when we get all of our needs met, when we're not having to worry about financial problems. Like it's just so much on the planet that we worry about on a day-to-day basis. So it takes our mindset and changes it to, okay, I only have this much time in the day, so I have to do this and this. So now I can't think about eating well, so I have to eat fast food. Then I get the fast food, then I'm mad because I feel bloated and I feel, sick or sluggish. And it's like, well, I have to keep moving, so you keep moving to the next thing. And you never sit down and take the time to access your health.
Exactly.
Like it's just, it amazes me that we have lived in a time that's so, I don't know the word I'm looking for, that we're so like dedicated to time and the lack thereof, that it just messes up a lot more in our lives, and we don't realize it until later on, until we're in old age and we're having so many problems with our health that we don't realize we could have fixed that in easier ways than what we were told. And we just have to stop listening so much to what the government has said that's good for us,
Yeah.
because they've built us like pack animals. Like, we're the same as they treat the livestock that they have, and we're just consumers to them, and it just doesn't create healthy behaviors.
100%. Like it's amazing that in this day and age that we're still letting it happen.
Yeah,
If one day if every single person in the world just stopped working, what are they gonna do?
not much,
Like,
not much they can do. And that's another thing, that the people, are so fearful of our governments. We don't realize the power that we have within us to change a system that's been put in place for the last 200, 300 years. It's the people that have the power. But, there's so many laws and stuff we don't know. We feel like we can't do anything about because we're just one person, but we don't have to be one person. And the fact that, most people look upon groups as stupid when they get together, it's hard to think that a group of people can change mainstream things. And it's the same thing with technology and like big tech. It's, we let them get to a place of high standing and power that they feel like they can do anything. And that's just not the case. It's bad business. There's so many things that are wrong with business nowadays. And they take full advantage of that because we don't know the laws. And it's something that should be taught more. And even our school systems are teaching us to be consumers and not so much teaching us to be people. And it hurts us as a whole.
yeah.
Like, being healthy and happy makes us want to do more for everyone, instead of always being worried about time and worried about what the next thing we have to do is, so we don't take the time to worry about our own health. And that's a lot of the reason why we have so many issues, is because we're not worried about our health. We'll worry about our children's health and we'll worry
Yeah.
about the elderly's health. But as far as being a not old but not young person, we don't really have the time to think about, okay, what I need to drink, however many glasses of water a day. And, you'll be like, I've had two today. And you'll be like, it's been 8 hours of the day and you spent two of it drink, two glasses of water for the entire day. And we just have so much to do. And it's about running the planet. And that's all we have. But to feel happier and to feel better, it would literally change how we do things, because we would realize so much wrong that there is. and how much we need to do to change it.
100%. I mean, we would all have to stop existing to be the next millionaire and
Yeah.
learn to be happy with, oh, there's food on my table and a roof over my head. That's enough.
Yeah. And most people don't feel that's enough because we're told that's not enough. And, we are told that in media, we're told that all over the media that, you have to have more, you have to have this, you have to have that. And that's just not the case. Simple life is usually a better life, and we can have a simpler life if we did something about the corporations in charge and if we did something about the governments in charge. And we can do that as a people. Like, this, like what I do now helps with that. It gets knowledge out there, and it's knowledge that we so desperately need because no one taught us. The people that taught us did the best they could. And a lot of that had to do with taking a pill. Like, I
Yeah.
know when I was young, when I was about 12 years old, I started taking medicines for being schizoaffective.
Mhm.
And, that changes the brain chemistry of a child, and so it's like I couldn't be the best I could be because my mind was already being changed because of the medicines I was taking. And they changed so much throughout the years. Like, one medicine today is good for you. And then 5 years down the road, oh, it's terrible. Don't take that. Or, taking things like I remember as kids, we used to have to do fluoride treatments in
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
And it was like, they brought out this tray of cups and it was just straight fluoride. And they're like, swish this in your mouth. Don't swallow it though. And it was like, why can't I swallow it? And, come to find out nowadays that it's terrible for the brain. It's terrible for the pineal gland. It's just not something you should be ingesting. And over the years, it's just amazing to see those changes and to realize how deeply they affected us. And as a person who's in their 30s, like I felt like we were test subjects for the most part on a lot of things. And they tested on us, and the school was sanctioning it, and the government was sanctioning it, just to come back years later to be like, actually, no, that is wrong. We should not have been giving you that. And sorry that you had to take that for years, but you're doing okay now. Just keep buying stuff. And it's just sad, really. Like, how do you test on your people? But that's in America, at least, that's something we are finding out more and more that the government did. And they would just test on the American people, and they got away with it. It's
I,
sad. It's really sad. Uh my next question is, what are some of the most pressing difficulties when it comes to trauma recovery for women?
honestly, I hate to say this, but it's often that they live in a life that is surrounded by men in a time period of their life when they need to not be able to see men for a hot second while generally they heal these parts of themselves.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And I think that's a people problem.
Right? Well, and I, like, yes, not all men. 100%. I know there are good guys out there. But it's very often that I'm seeing women of, okay, my abuser was the stereotypical male. And everywhere she goes, she sees a marker of him, right, that basically looks the same in a different body. And it can keep a person in that PTSD loop, like, continuously.
I know how that is. In my own life, I would always see the people that treated me terribly in everybody else. Like, it made me extremely paranoid. It made me not trustworthy, like not to trust people. And it wasn't until I could get over that pain from those people by removing myself from those people that I could get a better judge of what I needed for me and what is needed for each person. I feel like a lot of us go through so much trauma that we feel like we can never get away from the people that caused it. And we keep ourselves there because we tell ourselves we love these people or that they're family or they're a friend. And we keep taking their abuse over and over again. So we never really get out of the hold of these people. And it continuously traumatizes you. And like it just keeps giving you so much more pain and you never get out of the trauma bond that you've made with these people. And it's really sad. And if people don't realize if they just get away from these people, and sometimes that's harder than realized, but we still have the choice to do that. We can get out of the situations that we're in. And I know a lot of people don't feel like they can. And I know it's hard for them, but they can. Everybody can. And sometimes getting away is the best medicine we could take.
Exactly. At some point, you have to choose to no longer perpetuate the cycle. And yes, it's going to be hard as hell. But it's taking that step to say, hey, I'm choosing my wellness. And even if I have to cut grandma off, or mom, or your ex husband, like whatever, whoever it needs to be, eventually you have to break free because you can't heal in the same space that broke you.
And you'll bring more of the same in if you don't get away from those people. Like you'll like once you start looking at who is going to be my friends in life, you're starting to choose people that are like the people that hurt you or gave you trauma, and then you're bringing in more people to do that same trauma to you than the people that you felt did these things to you, because that's what your normal state is. That's what becomes your normal state. And you just bring in more of that. And then you're like, why is everything like this? And you're like, well, it's because you never got out of the situation you were in. And then you brought more people like that into your life. And we need to work on what is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of us don't know what normal is for us because we've never been in a place to have a normal life.
Right? I completely agree. And in the beginning times of healing, you don't want to bring anyone into your life that just feels like home, because it's more than likely going to be a replication of the same personality type or abusive behaviors that have created this cycle to begin with.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely
Like
agree.
no,
I know my own situation.
at no point do you want to meet someone and think, wow, they feel like home. No, avoid that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been there too many times. I was like, oh, they remind me of this person. I'm like, wait, that person was terrible to me. Like, why would I bring that into my life? Why did I bring that into my life? And then I'll be mad at myself for bringing it into my life, knowing that it was so much similar to others in my life that were just not good for me. And I think finding your tribe helps a lot with that. When you start having people who tell you, no, that was wrong. No, they shouldn't have treated you that way. You should get away from that person, and, have them sincerely mean that with no ulterior motives, that, you start to come to the conclusion that that wasn't okay.
Yeah,
And you start learning about who you are, and the fact that I know I deserve better. And once you know you deserve better, you want to feel better. So you'll start working on feeling better. And then part of that is health in general. And you'll start doing the things you need to build your health. And it's all, like I tell everyone, it's a snowball effect. Everything we do is a snowball effect. So if we do positive things, it'll snowball into more positive things. And if we do negative things, it'll snowball into negative things. It's just the fact that we have to choose which we're going to do. And
Exactly.
it just helps so much to know that I want to do better in my life. So I'm going to put forth the effort to do better in my life. And I'm going to do the things I need to in order to have that better life, no matter what it is.
Right? Well, and making sure that those supportive friends will also check you when you are out of line, or you say that you're doing the things but you're not actually taking the action. Like making sure there are people in your life that hold you accountable in healing, so that you're not just posting it on social media.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And we have a lot of that nowadays too, where people are trying to tell people that they need to do better and they themselves aren't. I know I have an accountability buddy. I try to have as many as possible. That way I know I'm not wrong in a situation. I'm like, did I do this wrong? And I'm like, yeah. It's like you're like, okay, okay, I might need to go back and apologize for that. But also for people to be like, am I doing this wrong? They're like, no, you did that exactly right. And you can be proud of yourself for doing that. And, taking the time to be proud of our accomplishments and the things that we do helps our health as well. Like I know in my own case that I have a lot of problems with being proud of the things I've done to get to the place I'm at. And I have to remind myself, and my accountability buddies have to remind me of just celebrate the good that you've done and celebrate how much healthier you are and how much better you feel and all the work you put into it. And, having that support system is crucial to like everything. Like
Yeah.
having a good support system is really crucial in getting better. And I feel like a lot of people don't have that because they bring so much more of the trauma people back into their lives, is that they never get out of the trauma. And I know from years for me, that was the case. I just couldn't get out of my trauma. I was a very negative person. And I can still hear it in my voice. And to know nowadays that I can hear it in my voice and change it helps me so much more than being in the place where I was just like, this is just going to be terrible. I know it's going to be terrible. And that's just how it's going to be. And, we speak these things into existence. And so it's like, change the way you word things can help build your health too. Like if you always think you're sick, you will stay sick. And because you won't do the things you need to make your body healthy. And I just think we could all do better with that in life because we're all struggling. Like we're
Mhm.
all going through the same problems, and you'll find someone in on this planet that has gone through some of the similar things that you have. And the more you find those people, they can help you break that cycle and break generational curses. And it's just like we need to establish support and be easy on people because you never know what someone else is going through. You just don't, especially nowadays. And we're all struggling. We all have financial problems except for like the 1%. So we're all in the same place. And it's so hard to remember that in times of struggle that other people are struggling too.
Exactly. Like even everyone in your life, there's something they're struggling about, even if they have like the perfect face of everything is wonderful. Like there's a pain point for everyone.
Yeah.
And I myself am probably only like 3 mistakes away from being homeless. Yeah, I'm doing fine today, but if I made 3 really bad mistakes in a row, probably.
Yeah. And that's how it is for so many people out there. Like it doesn't take much to change your entire life. But in that case, it doesn't take much to change your life. So if can go in a negative way, that can also go into a positive way. It's like I could also be 3 steps away from being the best person I could be, and all it takes is these 3 things. And it's like, why am I not doing those things? And it takes realizing that you're so close on either scale that can define your life. And
Exactly.
many people are out there like that, and we need to recognize that it's just something as crucial as knowing, if I change 3 things, I can change my life. If I can change one thing, I can change my life.
Yeah,
And that one thing could lead to so many more better things, or so many more worse things. And it's just weird. It's hard out here for everybody, and it takes little focus and effort to change your entire life.
exactly. And a person never wants to start big. You don't want to wake up tomorrow and drastically change everything. That's completely unmanageable. Right? Start with one thing, let it become a habit, then add another, and so forth.
And that's the easiest part about it, is maintaining reasonable goals. Like if you can just tell yourself, okay, today I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go for a run. So as soon as you start that, the day you decide to go for that run is the day you change at least a little part of yourself. And you should reward yourself for that. It's like, okay, I did that. That's good on me. And then the next day you continue to do it. And then you continue to do it the next day. You continue to do it the next day. And over time you won't even realize that the change has already occurred. And you'll just like be looking back and be like, I remember when I said I wanted this to happen. And now it's happened and I didn't even realize it. And you've already moved on to so many more changes in your life. Like I said, it snowballs, and now you're doing so much better than you thought you'd ever do. And you remember those times where you were praying or just asking the universe to make this better, to like, I want to do better. And now that you're doing better, you've moved on to so many more great things. And it's just something that we all need to work on. And it's so easy to work on things if we take it a little bit at a time. I know a quote I use is effort equals action plus choice over time.
Mm-hmm.
And, over time, you build everything you need for the things that you want and for things to get better. But it takes time. We all know that it takes time to do anything. Some people can't just pick up an instrument and play it. They have to learn how to play the instrument. They have to find out more about it. They have to find out the history of it and build and build and build. And once we do that, we'll have the things that we want. It just takes time.
Exactly. Rome was not built in a day.
No, it was not. Not at all. And that took hundreds of years to build, and it took many people to do it. And that's another thing we need to realize. Sometimes our help needs to have other people a part of it. Like
Yeah,
we sometimes there's some things we just can't do alone as people. And to get the right people is what it takes. Like you can't stay around the same people that beat you down and tell you negative things, and you have to find your people. And I can't stress that enough. Find your tribe, because I know doing this job that I have found so many more people I connect with and that I click with, and I'm like, we're on the same page. Like it's just so amazing that I've met so many amazing people, and they've all had very amazing stories. Like it's just been heartwarming and just fills me with a joy that I haven't had until now, because I'm finding my tribe. So I thank you for being a guest on the show, because I feel like we think a lot of the same ways. Um, let's see if I have any other questions. What is the Bliss method?
the Bliss method is my framework specifically for walking my clients through from trauma to bliss. It it takes everyone from like the getting to know stage to the deep trauma work and back to knowing themselves and reintegrating both into their friendships and relationships and the world around them as not who they were before the trauma, but who they've healed to become afterwards.
That is wonderful. That is amazing. I feel like I went through that myself in the last 4 years. I would visualize a big clock on the floor, and I would walk that clock counterclockwise, and I would relive past trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go back to the situation until I was okay with it and that I could live with it and not be angry so much about it. And then I would move on to the next one and move on to the next one. And then I finally realized I was walking backwards so much that I couldn't live in the present and I couldn't see a better future. So I changed the way I walked around my clock. And once I did that, I realized I could live in the present. And then the present wasn't so bad. And I had to keep telling myself, it was like, are you hungry right now? And I'd be like, no. I was like, are you sad right now? I'm like, not really. Like, do you have a roof over your head? Yeah. It's like, what are you worried about? And I was like, that makes sense. And it just made me a far more positive person. Like, it just made my life light up more and I could see the beauty in things again. And it wasn't about being the person I was before the trauma. It was about being the person who I am now, even though I went through those traumas. And it just helped bring my life into a better place. And I thank God every day that I got to that point, and I'm still working on those things. And that's another thing we forget too, is that it never ends. Like, we always have to continue the work. It's not something that's just one and done. It's something that we have to work on every day because we have triggers, and those things can be triggered at any given time and on any given day, no matter what we've done. And we have to work on being able to establish a framework for ourselves that can get us through. And I really love the Bliss method. I like the sound of that. And I feel like it can help a lot of people. Um, how can my listeners get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me on all forms of social media as Reese Sabatini-Blake, or you can go to my website, which is all words, traumatobliss.ca.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to check that out because I know I checked out your Facebook page, but I wanted to check out your other pages and stuff like that so I can, support and give support to a wonderful person. Um, I like to end the show by giving out this quote, and it's, thank you for today, thank you for yesterday, and thank you for tomorrow. Always remember to question your reality, and at every end, there is a beginning. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for spending some time with us. I'll link all your socials in the description for the video, and have a wonderful day. And thank you oh, I forgot. What is a question you have for the next guest without knowing who the next guest is?
What is the one thing you would do to fix the world if you could do any one thing tomorrow?
Thank you for being on the show once again. It has been great getting to know you, and I will definitely be supporting you on all your social media stuff. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. I hope that you have a wonderful day as well.
Thank you. You take it easy.
You too.